Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome back to episode 7 of that Wolfie Royals podcast. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your support from sort of last episode and the past episodes as well. So thanks very much again. Not too much to report in terms of news, I do not think. Obviously, there has been a change of date to the IHS show in September, which is now changed to the first weekend in September as well. So no news on the venue swap yet. We still don't know where it's going to be. So I think everyone's going to be keeping an eager eye out on that. But other than that, I don't really think there's too much going on. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into the podcast. We've got 2 segments, as always. We have Chris from New Fairy Pythons in the New Breeder segment. And we have the Southwest Constrictors group, who you may know from sponsoring the show and sponsoring the New Breeder segment. They are the main featured guest, and they will be talking about their show from last year and potentially some more smaller shows popping up as well. So let's get into it. Here we go. Here's the podcast.
Hi, this is Chris from Project Pied, founder member of the SWC group. The other members of the group are Max from CMT Royals, Darren from DJ Constrictors, Ryan from Rival Reptiles, and last but not least, Ross from Armour Key Reptiles. We founded the Southwest Constrictors group to provide a relaxed and friendly reptile show for both new and experienced breeders alike. We had some of the finest breeders in the UK attend our inaugural show back in October. Importantly, the show is brought to you by the breeders for the breeders. So why don't you come along to the next show and see for yourself. For all our updates, join and follow the Southwest Constrictors page on Facebook. We've decided to sponsor that Wolfie Royals podcast because we feel that the UK deserves a podcast like this.
And we are joined by Chris from New Fairy Morphs. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Chris.
Yeah, no worries. Good to be with you.
No problem at all, mate. So, as I said earlier, just a real quick brief rundown of sort of where you are in the hobby, sort of how long you've been into it, what got you into it. So, over to you.
Yeah, well, I've always been into reptiles or snakes and stuff. So I've always I used to keep boas. I had quite a few boas at one stage. And then I got rid of them, and then I moved into tarantulas.
Okay.
Funny enough. Fred was breeding the tarantulas quite well. But then I met my partner now, and she hates tarantulas, so they had to go. So we rescued a python. And then a friend of mine who owns a reptile shop down the road from me, he said, I'm going to Doncaster. He said, so do you fancy coming along for the ride? So I went for the ride, and I bought my first 2 pythons it was the last Doncaster show last year.
Okay, so that November, was it, I think?
Yeah, November, yeah. So I bought 2 pythons just because they look nice, like everyone does when they first. Yeah. And then it's just gone from there. Literally, we got rid of the couple of boas that we had, and now I'm just concentrating on the pythons side of it.
Okay. So how long was you breeding boas for?
Oh, I started when I was about 19, and I gave up I'd done it for about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
And then life just took over.
Yeah. And then at what age did you go into the tarantulas? Was that later on, or was that pretty soon after? Yeah,
no, that wasn't in about my 30s.
Okay.
I got into the tarantulas. Yeah, and I'd done the tarantulas quite a few years.
And what sort of numbers are we talking on the boas and the tarantulas?
Oh, the boas we're probably talking about. We're not talking about many for the boas, to be fair. We're probably talking about 10.
Okay.
10 boas. That was all because back then I kept them in proper vibs.
Yeah.
So, I had vibs all over the place. My tarantulas were probably in the hundreds. Okay. My tarantulas, they were everywhere.
So a fair amount of them then.
Oh yeah, definitely has quite a few of them. Enjoyed it.
So then, what after you sort of got your first two at Doncaster, what sort of pushed you into the breeding side of it? Did it just sort of escalate pretty quickly, or was it something that had been in the back of your mind since you sort of had the boas and stuff in the past?
Well, yeah, it's always been there. But to be fair, work life, kids, they all took over. And then my friend who owns World of Exotics, the reptile shop up by me, he started breeding. I thought, yeah, let's try with the pythons.
Okay.
And we'll see what we can come up with, because obviously I followed a few people or watched a few people like Wilkinson and people like that.
Yeah.
And what they were doing. And then, of course, I seen yours on Instagram and that.
And
So
it just went from
it
there.
inspired me to get into the Python side of it.
Yeah, pretty cool. So how many are you up to now, sort of number-wise? Has it been steadily increasing?
Yeah, I think we're up to 37 at
Okay.
the moment.
Yeah, it's gone up pretty quickly then since November last year.
It went up very quickly, yes. I mean, I've only probably got about 8 adults,
Okay.
if that. The rest are all
Sort of hatchlings
little
and grow
ones.
ons. Yeah.
Yeah. So that we can grow them up and you know.
Yeah, it's your sort of project then, isn't it? It's stuff that you've seen through from the beginning to the end.
That's it. Yeah. And we quickly got into the fact that we weren't just going out and buying anything.
Yeah.
We were buying specifically what we needed.
Okay. And what sort of projects are you hoping to work with and sort of basing your plans around?
I was looking into the clowns and the bananas when I first started out, but then we kind of changed our position. So we've got most of our pythons now are leopards,
Okay.
or cinnamons.
Okay. So you like the quite dark stuff?
Yeah. So we've gone down that route at the moment. It just seems to be a route that we've fallen into.
Okay.
My partner wants to do the pieds. She likes the pieds.
Yeah.
So
Visual
she wants to
aspects
get
are
into that.
fantastic, aren't they, pieds?
Yeah. Oh, gorgeous. Yeah, we got a low white pied at the moment, but that's what she wants to get into. So we will eventually get into them.
So what's the sort of the ultimate end goal with the leopards and the cinnamons? What do you want to create? What sort of the thing in the back of your mind that's sort of fueling your plans at the moment?
I mean, we've got some really nice ones. We've got some 4G leopards and cinnamons.
Okay.
So we just want to see. I'm not quite. We've got them, and we're just playing around with them at the moment, just to see what we can put with what and what would come out of them. Okay. I mean, we're new into it, but we're learning all the time. To be fair, and so then we look at something.
Are you looking more at predominantly recessive stuff, or is it going to be sort of codom and more sort of incomplete dominant visual stuff that you're looking for?
No, we're looking for the visual stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's the route that we're going to go down.
Okay.
So, but you never know with them, do you? So
no. Your sort of plans and your desires and your wants can change at any given time.
That's
really.
It, yeah. And I mean, the 2 hatchlings or the 3 hatchlings that I showed you yesterday for help on. I mean, they were from a bamboo and a banana.
Okay. Yeah.
To be fair, we didn't get a banana out of them.
It's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, isn't it? It's the way the cookie crumbles.
Right. Yeah.
But no doubt you'll make up for it in later clutches. You'll have
I've
genes
got
that'll be heavy in certain clutches, and sometimes you'll completely luck out and hit nothing.
Yeah, well, I've got a clutch that's ready to hatch next week. So they'll be my incubator now.
So how many clutches are you hoping for this season? Is it your first season or your second season?
First, yeah. No, it's our first season.
Okay.
Because we only got November, and then in November they were only babies.
Yeah.
So it's we're looking at. I'm hoping about 4 or 5.
Okay. So
this season.
It's still a fair amount in your first season to deal with and contend with.
Yeah. Yeah. I built a nice big incubator, and out of them glass fridges. Yeah. Coolers, which seems to be working really well. My temperature and my humidity stayed the whole way through.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, the humidity, I don't even measure my humidity anymore. I get everything in the tub and that's it. It goes in and obviously measure the temperature, but Yeah, long I've gone the days where I had temp probes and everything hanging out of boxes and stuff. I just don't bother anymore.
Oh, yeah, I haven't got the probes in the boxes. I've just got a probe inside.
Yeah.
So it measures a whole lot, to be fair.
No, perfect. So what are your sort of 5 or 6 clutches this year? What are you hoping to hit? What's the sort of the jackpot or the end goal for this season?
Well, I mean, because we've only got a very few adults, but they're mainly fire phantoms and the goblin.
Okay.
So we're looking around about them.
So just trying to get the combination of genes together.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And we've got a cinnamon that's ready to go now.
Okay.
So we've just put a phantom with her, to be fair.
Yeah, nice
just
outcomes.
To see what will come out of that one.
Yeah, some pretty nice outcomes. Say Mojave, Phantom, anything like that works really well with cinnamon.
Yeah.
You get some really good stuff with cinnamon.
We're learning all the time at the moment.
Yeah, you learn something new every day is the old adage, isn't it? But it certainly is true.
Yeah, I mean, we were given the other day 2 albinos.
Okay.
Adults, males. I'm not quite sure what we'd put with them, but...
Albino and cinnamon work lovely together, though. So just create some heads with those. Yeah, cinnamon albinos are really nice.
Yeah, we've got an albino pinstripe.
Yep.
I think you saw it on my Instagram, didn't you?
Possibly. I see quite a bit, so I might have forgotten what it was. But...
Yeah, a blackhead pastel albino.
Oh, nice.
Oh, black pastel albino, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Black pastel albino, cinnamon albino, they all look really good together. So, yeah, I mean, if you've got blackhead albino, fantastic.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say no to that.
Stunning.
So, what differences do you notice now from sort of like breeding boas in the past to breeding royals now? Is it sort of a fairly similar process for you, or is it completely new and alien?
I think when I bred the boas, I kind of bred season-wise.
Yeah.
Whereas I've listened to a lot of people give advice out, and I tended to go down the route with the pythons where I haven't got a season.
Yeah. Yeah, people
if they're ready,
breed all year round.
If they're ready to go, then I will put something with them. Obviously, once they've been bred, I will leave them.
Yeah.
A year and then do it again. But if they're ready to go, then I
think the majority of people now are probably breeding all year round. I don't think anyone really sticks to the seasons as much as they used to. Obviously, with boas and bibs, it's probably a lot harder to breed all year round in terms of numbers, I'm guessing.
It is, yeah, with the bibs and that. I mean, I'm lucky my friend Dan, who owns the World of Exotics, he didn't give me, but I bought some racks off him.
Yeah. Some
old racks that he had, which has helped me out quite a lot because it's just cut the space down for my pythons.
Yeah, no, it does. It's I think with pythons more than boas, you tend to buy pretty quickly, and the numbers sort of increase pretty quickly. So obviously, space is at a premium, and space is, one thing that not everyone has. So racks definitely make it a lot easier to breed the numbers that we want to breed. But if I was doing it in bibs, I'd have nowhere near the size of collection or the amount of animals that I've got if I was doing everything in sort of 3 foot, 4 foot bibs all the time.
That's right. Yeah, it's a lot harder when they're in bibs.
Yeah, completely different to the trenches, though. I guess they didn't take up too much room.
No, they were just in little tanks, very little tanks, because they hardly move.
Yeah.
So they were nothing.
Yeah, I've only got a curly hair adult, but I haven't seen it move for weeks.
No, they don't.
That's it. It buries down. It's under its little hide. It's burrowed down. It's webbed it up and everything, and that's it. Chuck a cricket or something in there for it, and it's fine.
And with the pythons, you just put them in and leave them, but with the tarantulas, you've got to sit and watch them.
Oh, really? I've never bred tarantulas.
They do tend to try and kill each other.
Pretty territorial, them.
Yeah. Well, when they bred, the female will sometimes try and kill the male.
Okay. And is that pretty common or not?
Yeah, that's pretty common. Yeah. You'll find that the male will try and tip the female over and then run. So, make his escape very quickly.
A day in the life of a mating tarantula. Sounds pretty fun, doesn't it?
You wouldn't like that happening to you, would you?
Are you looking to go into the clown stuff still, or is it mainly the pied that you're looking at?
Well, no, I think we've kind of walked away from the clown at the moment. we kind of got leopard and cinnamon heavy.
Okay.
So I think we'll concentrate on that for a little bit. But obviously the pied, the partner wants to get into. We've also got, and someone said they were quite rare, but I honestly don't know, something called a Platy Daddy.
Platy Daddy, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Not many people seem to have them.
No, it's I know a couple of people working with them, but it was quite big a few years back, but I don't think many people use it nowadays.
Yeah, we've got one of them, a full Platy Daddy, and we've got a het Platy Daddy, a het daddy.
Het Daddy, yeah.
Yeah. But we just seem to have moved away, and we've gone towards the leopards and the cinnamons at the moment. I mean, we've got like a Mojave Ghost and stuff.
Yep.
That are sitting there.
That's pretty good. I mean, it's you've got to get the foundations and the building blocks in to start somewhere. So, I mean, if it's the leopards and the cinnamons that you like, then at least you've got sort of a clear vision and a clear path of where you want to go, or at least what you want to work with down the line.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, we have got a couple of het clowns.
Yep.
In our collection,
okay.
But they're only het clowns. So, yeah. I mean, if we put them together, and we'll see what we come up with.
That's it. I say you can always change your route and change your plans at any given time, pretty much. So
yeah,
nothing's set in stone.
I just don't think the pie to change, because that's what my partner's well into. She's just waiting for a panda pie to come along.
Yeah, they don't pop up very often.
Well, we know someone that's getting ready to breed for them now.
Yeah.
So he's going to give us the heads up if he gets any.
Yeah. I mean, obviously with the pandas, you've got the possible sort of kinks and deformities and things coming along. So I think when people do hit them, they tend to hold them back, or they go for a fair bit of money.
Yeah, we've heard that. Yeah.
She's got expensive taste.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, we do a lot with I don't know, Northwest Royals. They're called Ken.
Okay.
He's in partnership with a friend of his. He's a really lovely bloke. He's helped us out quite a lot. We've had a couple of nice snakes off him, a couple of pythons off him. He's given us loads of information, and he's not pushing them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Just sort of helping you through and guiding you through.
Yeah. He's got that many there. You literally go to his house and they're just stacked everywhere. And he's got some amazing snakes, and you just look and you're like, this is where I want to be.
Okay.
And he spends his time, he gets them out, he shows you, if you don't buy them, you don't buy them.
Yeah, gives you the full experience.
Yeah, but he's quite knowledgeable, and he's helped us out quite a lot.
That's good.
I mean,
that's sort of guiding you through it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the kind of thing you want.
Exactly, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I've hassled you quite a few times, so...
That doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me at all.
And then I hope that in the future, I can be like that. But I can help.
It will come. I used to, I still do hassle people. Yeah, what do you think of this? Do you see this gene in it or something? It's swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
That's right.
So I'm always open to helping other people, and I'll always message other people if I need help with something else. So yeah, it doesn't bother me. It's only answering a couple of messages.
That's it. Yeah.
So who've been your sort of the main inspirations and sort of the people that you look up to in the hobby then?
I mean, balls to you. I've watched quite a few of their videos.
Yeah.
I quite like watching his when he does his.
Okay.
I mean, Scott Wilkerson, obviously.
Yeah.
I always tune into you when you're on and about.
On the old Friday Night Lives.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, they're the people I watch.
Okay.
People that I tend to talk to quite a lot that help me out is the Northwest Royals.
Yeah.
Because he's a lovely bloke. Dan in World of Exotics, a friend of mine that owns a shop up the road from me, he's helped me out with snakes, and when he gets some nice ones in, he's always messaging me saying, come and have a look if you want any, and I always get first choice. So
that's handy.
Yeah, very handy.
What's the plan for you? Where do you see yourself in sort of 3 years, 5 years time with the hobby? Do you want to turn it into more of a business, or are you sort of happy as you are, just ticking along with it?
No, I mean, my partner's only 35. I'm 53. We've got a little girl now. She's 2.5.
Okay.
So I'm looking at, if I can, within 3 to 5 years, probably retiring from my job.
Okay.
And just sticking with the snakes and hoping that the snakes make enough revenue that I don't have to go into work anymore.
Okay. And has the retirement always been on the cards, or is it something that you've kind of thought more about since doing the reptiles?
No, it's more. I think more doing the reptiles. I mean, I've thought about it, but then you retire, you don't know what to do with yourself, you get bored, you get fed up. But I think now that I've got pythons and I've got something to work for, and I enjoy doing what I do, with the pythons, and I enjoy, me and my partner, we both enjoy looking at what we can get out when we put this together and this together. And I know I've been in it less than a year, but it's still very exciting.
Oh no, completely. I mean, the excitement never changes. I think that's what keeps people going, is the excitement of what they could hatch and the possible outcomes and things. I
mean, the clutch I got ready for next week, I just wish I could fast forward.
No, I mean, I would love to know what was in my eggs. I was having this conversation with someone the other day that if you still had to wait for them to hatch, but you just knew what was in them, how much easier would life be?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. I could wait the 60 days. It's just not knowing what's inside, especially from like het to het pairings or double het to double het, etc. Know whether you've hit the odds or not. Obviously, the excitement of cutting the clutch and seeing what's inside is brilliant, but sometimes I just want to know. I'm just impatient.
Oh, if you listen to my partner, I'm very impatient.
I just want things done when I want them done, and that's it. I hate waiting for things. Yeah.
I'm the same, but then it's kind of because you get advice off different people, don't you? I mean, you saw me in Doncaster the other day on the last show.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of the sellers, and he was like, I cut my eggs at 52.
Okay.
If they're dry, I put warm water in. And I'm like, well, that's a new one for me. But, if that's...
Yeah, I've never done that before. Never done it before. Never heard of it before, to be honest. So
no, it was a thing, and I said to a mate about it, and he was like, I've never heard of that.
No.
But apparently this lad does it all the time.
I mean, day 52, they shouldn't be dry. I'm guessing there's probably still a bit of albumin still left to absorb, unless the incubator's running quite hot and it's hatching pretty early. But I don't tend to get stuff hatch until sort of day 56-ish, probably the earliest for me. And it's a new one to me. I would have guessed at day 52 there'd still be quite a little liquid left in the yolk, in the egg.
Well, mine would be day 55. So.
Yeah, so in the day 55 is, if I am cutting, I'll start to cut at about day 55, because I know there's not really too much that's going to be too much that's wrong by that point.
Right, okay.
I don't mind cutting at day 55. It's pretty comfortable.
Yeah, don't tell me that. I'll be doing it.
It's each to their own, isn't it? I know some people wait for stuff to pip first and then they cut, but like I said, I'm impatient. If I want to have a little look inside, I will. But yeah, I normally, day 55 is where I go, because I'm normally expecting stuff to hatch around 57, 58.
Yeah.
And then I sort of know what I've got.
It's just your first clutch, isn't it? You just don't know what to do for the best, do you?
Oh, no, like the panic and the nerves and the sort of the anxiousness of what you've got inside. Is everything alive? Is everything going to plan and going how it should do? But that happens with, your first clutch and your 100th clutch. It's nothing ever changes that excitement of, opening the tub, seeing the pip, or, cutting it and seeing what's inside. That never gets boring.
No.
And I think that's what keeps most people going, is just that unknown.
That's right. I mean, for me, it's our first proper hatch.
Going forward, it's all part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a science. I got a few mates who were saying, well, then you just put snake to snake and that's it. I was like, no.
Trying to explain genetics to people who don't understand it is a little bit difficult. I've had this conversation with friends in the past that are no way inclined or interested in snakes, and trying to sort of give them a basic rundown of recessives and codoms and incomplete dominant and things like that. It's not the easiest thing to do to someone who don't really know anything about it, but and then you've got to try and say, oh yeah, this one's recessive, but this one goes for X amount of money and this one goes for this amount, and they just like, why is it any different? A snake's a snake, surely. That's
right. I tend not to go into the money side of it with them, because it just goes over their head. But
a lot of people are curious though, aren't they, as to what the genetics are, and the sort of the scientific makeup and background behind it all. But a lot of people, like you say, just go straight over their head in one ear and out the other.
That's right, yeah. Yeah. But I enjoy it. I mean, I'll disappear some days, some nights, and my missus will find me talking to the snakes. I go in the room, get them out, hold them.
Yeah, I just sit in here quite a few times, and I come in here to do something that should take about 20 minutes, and I end up in here for 2 or 3 hours, and I'm just going through things, I'm answering messages, I'm doing all sorts of stuff. So
That's right,
it's a good distraction. It could be worse. I could be spending my time down the pub all the time or something. So
yeah, and I mean they're quite calm snakes, aren't they? My 2-year-old loves them. She'll come in with me and she'll hold them. And
oh yeah, absolutely. My little boy used to all the time. He does come in here occasionally now, but now he's got YouTube and stuff. He doesn't really care as much. But he used to come in all the time. He wants to hold them, put them around his neck, and do all sorts. And sits there and has pictures with them and everything. So
yeah, that's right. Mine will come in and she'll pull a tub out and just pull it out the tub. And we'll find her sitting holding it.
It's a good little family thing. I say he used to come and get involved a little bit, and he does still try and come in on cleaning days, but he just makes a mess. So I tend to lock the door, and that's it. Just hide him away. But
yeah, we've had to put a lock on the door just so that he doesn't go in and get him.
Yeah, this is always locked.
Mayhem in there.
I haven't got to worry about that. It's always locked away from him, and I can lock it from the inside as well. So once I'm inside, just if I need to get a bit of time away or make sure stuff actually gets done, I can lock the door and keep him out.
Yeah, well, mine are all kept in the living room at the moment.
Yeah.
But we're moving, hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Okay. So
I got a big enough garden then that I can build a proper facility at the bottom.
Yeah, looking for a proper building, proper like purpose-built area for you.
Yeah. So they're away from the house and away from the kids. So they're safe.
Right, we are coming up to half an hour, so I'm going to wrap things up because I've just had a timer come up on Zoom saying that time is running out.
Yeah,
so
no worries, mate.
Thank you very much for coming on. Thanks for talking about sort of your experiences and your sort of journey so far, and what you're hoping to do in the future.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
No problem at all.
Nice.
Good luck with the season, and I'm sure we'll see you again at Doncaster sometime. Or it won't be Doncaster this one, but yeah.
Yeah, you definitely will.
No problem.
I'll be around.
Brilliant.
Right, cheers, man.
Cool, man. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, Tom.
Have a good one.
And you.
Hi, this is Andy over at Clubmore Reptiles in Liverpool, sponsoring the Wolfies podcast. We've decided to sponsor the podcast because we massively believe in the reptile community and especially Royal Pythons. So if you're ever in the Liverpool area and you fancy popping in to say hi and having a brew, then come on over. Anyway, back to Wolfie on the podcast.
And there we have it, folks. That was Chris over at New Ferry Pythons. I didn't mention his Instagram and his Facebook and stuff on there. So if you do get a chance, go over to Instagram and follow him, New Ferry Pythons. And I'm not sure if he's on Facebook either, but I know he's definitely on Instagram because that's where I've spoken to him in the past. So get over, show him some support, and have a look what's going on. Now, time for the main featured guest. You may have heard these guys in the past. You may have even been to the inaugural Southwest Constrictors Group show, which was October 2021. If you do, you'll be more than familiar with the guys that make the group up. That's Chris Kavanagh, aka Chris Pied. You have Ryan Hancock of Rival Reptiles. You have Darren Edwards of DJ Constrictors. And you have Max of CMT Royals, Max Tinsley there. So, yeah, sit back, listen, see what they have to say, get a little bit of insight into what it takes to get their show up and running, and the issues that they've faced, or the ease at which they got their show up and running, and we'll see you on the other side. P.S. I am aware that parts of this edit are really quite quiet in places, so I do apologise for that. I try to amplify the sound as much as possible without distorting the sound quality too much, so it still sounds okay. But yeah, there is a few parts where it's a little bit quiet, so just get through that and you'll be okay. I am making sure that this doesn't happen again in the future, and we'll be getting more microphones, and every guest can have their own microphone in, so that won't be an issue going forward. But yeah, just for this one, I do apologise, but it is what it is.
Hi, I'm Darren from Wild Racks and you're listening to That Wolfie Royals podcast. If you're in the UK and looking for affordable custom enclosures, check out Wild Racks on Instagram and Facebook. Back to the podcast.
We're recording. So we're with the guys from SWC today. You might have heard of them. They are one of the show sponsors. So if you just want to give yourselves a quick introduction and there's your breeder name as well, if you want to plug yourself a little bit too. Start from left to right. Go for Chris first.
Hello, Tom. Nice to see you, mate. I'm Chris, known as Chris Pied, but that is not my actual name for some people. And welcome to our little podcast.
Yeah, my name's Ryan. Breeding name's Ribal Reptiles.
My name's Darren from DJ Constrictors.
And my name's Max from CMT Royals, which I run with my child Charlie, hence the CMT.
Perfect. So how did the SWC come about? What was the sort of the premise behind it?
I think that it came about because we're all four of us are from probably, I guess, within an hour of this location, and we're recording from where the show is held. And it came from, I guess, embryonically from a discussion that the four of us had, along with some other sort of friends and colleagues from the hobby, about how we needed a meeting, a breeders' meeting, a show, more, I guess, in terms of logistics, because everything was being held at Doncaster at the time, and it was just a right trek. And people from the southwest, people from from the bottom ends of Devon and Cornwall were spending sort of 6 hours plus just getting there. Absolutely massive trek. So we decided that let's try and give the hobby something maybe a little bit closer and a little bit more accessible. Would you say, gents?
Yeah, I suppose as well, it's more set up. Our show was more aimed for the breeders rather than just mass market that Doncaster is. Just something a little bit different.
Generally just a place for all of us to meet up with the people we haven't seen for a long time and be able to have the space and time to chat, rather than in places like Doncaster where it's a bit of a cattle shed, isn't it?
It's pretty hectic at times, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Always, mate. It's, and I think because we had our first show in October of 21, just as things were all sort of being,
let out of release.
We were being let out, weren't we? So I think we got a very positive response from the vendors who attended, the people who were exhibiting attended, and the people that arrived to, the visitors. We got a really good response back. And as Max was saying, one of the things was that it didn't feel so claustrophobic. There was space to move around. There was space to see. It
was a lot more social.
Yeah.
It's socially friendly in terms of
which is
meeting and talking to people. And
that's pretty much what we were going for, really. It's a good opportunity because we are scattered around the country. There's a lot of people quite far north, east, west, south. Just to bring people so we could all have a chat and a bit of social time where we can talk about projects, have a look at a couple of animals, and really that was it. There's no pressure or wanting really for that whole sort of sales side of things. It really is designed to be much more of a social event and an opportunity to meet other people within our hobby and catch up.
And show off your best animals as well. Yeah. Which people very rarely get a chance to see.
Rather than the stuff that you're taking to shows month in, month out to flog or selling a morph market at the same time sort of thing.
Yeah.
So first show was in October 21. How long did it take organising and planning to get that show up and running? Was it something that had been going on for a while, or was it a fairly quick process?
It was quite 6 months, wasn't it?
But I think
I
think we've been talking about a good year before that. Really having the wheels in motion, really, and it was the last 6 months to a year where we were really grinding it out. Really.
I mean, we were all sort of stuck with COVID, weren't we? But I think we sort of got down to the brass tacks of it all sort of the last 6 months. And to be fair, we spent a fair few hours each one of us getting everything together that we needed to.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more hassle than perhaps we thought, but we've done it once now. So
Yeah.
in theory, it should be a lot easier the second time round.
Yeah.
But luckily, we were in a good position where we got this venue here at the school.
Yeah. So in terms of the venue, was there any difficulties or challenges with sort of accessing it for reptile shows, etc.?
So as far as the venue is concerned, the venue has been cleared by the local council for a reptile breeders meeting to occur. They are perfectly happy with that. What they are stipulating is absolutely no sales to take place. And that has been and that was clear at the last show. So it's all the boxes have been ticked. It's not something that we've just tried to say, oh no, this isn't going to happen, when actually it is, and all that sort of stuff. So local council know what's happening. The school governors know what's happening. The head teacher knows what's happening, or she should do anyway.
Good choice, hasn't she?
So that's the only stipulation, is that this is not a sales event.
Plus, I think the thing we need to say as well is that last year we had about 200 people attending and about 30 odd exhibitors, something like that in the end. But we managed to raise £1,500 for the school for the underprivileged kids, which was the second point of it all. So it's not as if we're doing this for any sort of profit for ourselves, because we don't take anything from this. It was just literally for us to all get together as breeders, have a chin wag, and help the school out at the same time. And
which we'll do again for every show. So it's really I suppose a charity fundraiser and an opportunity to get together. So we're doing this from a very non-selfish point of view, where we want to try and help someone that's slightly less privileged.
I think that also shows a good side of the reptile industry / hobby, doesn't it? It's like, especially now, a lot of the focus is put onto illegal breed and sales and things. So to actually show that it is benefiting local communities where shows are held and things like that is a real big positive for the show itself as well.
And the money's been used, and a proportion of the money has already been used to part fund some of the children from the school who may not be able to afford it, but to part fund a residential trip. Which is happening in June.
Fantastic.
And some of the money has been gone to top up, because for whatever reason families can't pay the whole money. Our donation, or part of our donation, has been used to say, okay, just because you can't afford it doesn't mean you can't go. Because we'll top it up for you.
Well, that's fantastic.
So it's giving the kids a real,
especially in these sort of times at the moment with everything, prices of everything going through the roof. So, So you mentioned there that you've done it once already. Is there plans for a second one, or a third, or a fourth?
Well, we would like to.
We're definitely going to put one on this year, and going forward, we've got to look at what the reptile industry is doing as a whole. I think, with regards to shows, and I don't want to get into the whole conversation about what things have gone wrong with other shows and things. However, all being willing, then we'll crack on with it. And it's not going to grow, as in size-wise, because we are limited on the amount of people we can have here. We could take in more than we did last year. I can't remember what the fire regs say we can have up to, but we can certainly do more than last year. But it's whether we can manage it. Is the thing, and we want to keep to numbers that we can think are easy enough for us to sort out. And
it was at a nice level where people could mooch and have a chat.
Last year. That's the thing, isn't it? I think that was what the feedback was, that people had a bit of space.
And
they weren't crammed in like sardines.
I think at some other shows you can obviously have a good chat the night before, but actually on the day it's just so chaotic.
You very rarely get a chance to
with people that you haven't even seen for a long time, but you still haven't got that opportunity really to chat with. Whereas I think there was little groups forming where people were having a good old chat.
So it's not as if we're in the future down the road, we're not thinking of going into a warehouse and trying to get 2,000 people in or whatever. It's not that. That's not what it's about. It's about a smaller venue that we can look after properly, and then everybody have time to chat and not get pushed around like cattle.
And I just wonder though, Tom, is this a way forward? Obviously, what's been happening now in terms of recent events and sort of, you know, Doncaster being cancelled and etc., is the way forward more sort of local, regional breeders' meetings? Is that? I don't know.
I think they're definitely going to have their place now that the one big show that we was allowed to have at some point has now disappeared. I think it needs people to be proactive and actually take it upon themselves to organise things. You know, you've got like the SRAS and PRAS and stuff that do things, but they've been going for a few years as well. But in terms of people actually pulling their finger out and doing stuff, it's actually quite few and far between of people actually wanting to put the effort in rather than just suggest an idea.
I think there was an element of that when we started, wasn't there? It was like, can we do this?
Yeah.
You know, are we sufficiently, you know, able to do it? And then in the end, it wasn't as difficult, really, was it?
Yeah.
As we perhaps thought initially, and we were worried about.
Yeah.
So if anybody is thinking of putting on shows around the country, small ones like ours, then feel free to.
So what's the process for you guys of setting it up and getting it up and running?
I think we had to. The main thing first was trying to get ourselves out there and known to be. Like, is this something that people want? Is it something that people are interested in?
Yeah.
Hence why we set up the Facebook group SW Constrictors. Invited people along, put a few sort of announcements and photos and things on there in the first place, and just sort of gauge people's interest.
Yeah.
Then Chris approached a list of exhibitors that we thought would, you know, that we knew well and we thought would want to come down. And they were all up for it, weren't they, Chris?
They were.
It was a really good turnout.
Yes, it was.
The response was really good from it.
It was, yeah.
And don't forget, of course. Sorry to interrupt, mate. But don't forget, of course, that weekend
It was the fuel crisis
the fuel
weekend, wasn't it?
crisis.
Yeah, I know a few people missed it because of the fuel
Absolutely.
crisis.
That couldn't have been on a worse weekend.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some of the people who we really were hoping that were going to turn up
Yeah.
couldn't, because they couldn't get
Can't get any
fuel
diesel.
in the southeast of England.
Yeah.
It was really difficult.
Yeah.
But even despite that, the turnout
was really good.
really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good. Even despite that,
Yeah, really positive
that's right.
comments, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't remember exactly our numbers last year, but it was around about 30 odd exhibitors and a good 200 plus people that came on top of that. We're probably aiming for a few more exhibitors this year.
Yeah.
We've been discussing a bit as well. We're going to try and see if there's a variety of people who want to come and exhibit. Last year it was majoritively ball pythons
Yeah.
and some trade people like Andy from Clubmore came down, didn't he?
Yes.
A couple of others. So this year we're going to see if we can perhaps invite other people to come that may have inverts or lizards or
Frogs,
geckos, frogs, whatever,
you name it.
whatever they.
So if anyone's, knows of anyone else outside of the ball python game that's got something a bit interesting that they'd be interested to come and enjoy a bit of a exotic social,
That's a good name for it.
Exotic social.
Exotic social.
We'll change it from a readers meeting to exotic social
Heard it here first, people.
with no alcohol.
So they're a clothing company called SoCal Exotics. So you could be social exotics.
There you go.
Exotics. So yeah, get in touch on the group, or Chris Pide's basically our PR. So yeah, let us know.
Chris Pied / not Pied.
Chris Pied / yeah, definitely not Pied anymore.
So I know you put out before on the Facebook group that you was potentially looking at doing 2 shows a year if people were interested. Is that still something you'd be looking at in the future, or are you going to stick to 1 show?
I think things have changed since we've last spoke about that.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends on what this show goes like, and
I mean, a lot of it was, are people going to come? Are exhibitors going to want to come and show their animals off if they're going to 4 other shows a year
Yeah.
in one place? That's obviously changed.
Especially with the way the timings work with, Doncaster doesn't start until April, I think the first show is, and it's rounded up by November, isn't it? So
Exactly.
you've got a small window of time where if you end up putting 2 or 3 shows on, I think it worked out that there'll be a show every month.
Yeah.
Which is, financially a lot of responsibility for some people to actually
It's
organise.
great for the local people, but if people, like last year we were quite surprised, and it was good that we had quite a lot of people coming from a fair distance as well, not just in the southwest.
Yeah.
We had a couple of our northwest friends
Yeah.
for the meeting. Kyle was down.
Yeah.
He must have travelled hours
Definitely.
to get here.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real, that was a real positive for us, because not only did we have local people, but we had, well-known people in the hobby willing to travel a long way to support our show.
Yeah, and again, it's that social catch up. That's quite a commitment to come down and have a chat with someone, but these events are so few and far between that that's kind of what we want to try and support.
I think one of the best things about the show was it was on a Saturday, and it took away a lot of the hassles and the strains and stresses of doing the social the day before, then going around and traipsing around doing the show, driving back to Doncaster for me is about 3.5, 4 hours on a Sunday afternoon. By the time you get back, you're knackered, you've got to unpack stuff or unpack animals, straight back to work the next day. Yeah. I think that the benefit of a Saturday show is it gives you that little bit of respite, that bit of downtime.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, myself included, we've done the Friday, Saturday, and then went back on the Sunday. So it's almost a double social, which is quite nice.
And the location here is great as well, because it's literally 5 minutes off the motorway, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Or 10 minutes at the most. So it's easy access.
Yeah. Where did you say, Tom? Which
The Premier Inn Business Park. Is it Gloucester Business Park?
Is that right?
Yeah, proper.
Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Fantastic. I think it was about 60 quid for the weekend.
Yeah.
Pubs right next door, so your
Yeah.
food and drink sorted for the weekend. It's pretty cheap. I think it's like a Brewers Fair or Toby Carvery, something like that, isn't it?
It's only what, a 10-minute drive here, isn't it?
If that, yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of location, there was plenty of accommodation available locally. I had no real issues with it at all.
And they're not all booked up 6 months in advance, like up in Doncaster.
Yeah.
It's handy out here having plenty of good parking on site as well when you actually do get here, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And we had the little coffee.
Yeah.
Your little coffee
Yeah.
place that you sorted out, Max.
Yeah.
That was well received, and from how I spoke to them after the event, and they were very, very keen to do anything else that we were going to put on. There were a couple of little changes that we were thinking about doing, like maybe doing something else outside or whatever, because we've got loads and loads of space here outside, and I guess that depends on when we actually finalise the date of the next meeting.
Yeah, definitely.
It's half the battle living in Britain, isn't it? You're always against the weather, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all. I think I like you were saying, mate. It's everything is. It's a decent venue. You've got everything nearby. And did you think the Saturday was? If it was on a Sunday, would you come?
I would have come.
Right.
It would have not taken the shine off of it, but it would have been
A bit more pressure.
a bit more pressure.
Okay.
The pressure of going, well, I can drive up on a Friday night, take everything up on a Friday, have a few beers Friday night, do the show Saturday. I haven't got to worry about that drive back. If I want to go for a few beers or have some food, that's fine. You can do that because you're 2 minutes from the road or 2 minutes from the hotel over the road, and then you can drive back Sunday and sort of enjoy the whole process rather than everything being squeezed into one evening and one show day.
So as a exhibitor, would you prefer it on a Saturday?
100%, yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Okay. And did you gauge any sort of was that the consensus of opinion from people?
I think so. I think the primary response was, with the show being on a Saturday, it was easier to manage the weekend.
Yeah.
Because if the show's on a Saturday, right, Friday night you might drive up, it might take you a couple of hours to get down. But if you know that you're straight into the hotel next door or whatever, it's simple. Whereas if it's the show's on a Sunday and you think, right, well, I've got to drive up Saturday, I'm going to spend all my day driving up Saturday, unpack everything, maybe go for a few beers, get everything packed up again for the Sunday to take it to the show, do the show, and then it's all back in the car, and back home sort of thing. It's added pressure of not pressure as such, but it's a hassle that you don't really want.
Yeah.
Whereas, especially for those people driving from sort of northwest where it's going to be 6-7 hour drive. I think that leeway of knowing that the Sundays you travel back day with no pressure of late finish or anything is quite nice.
You potentially don't have to take a day off work either on the Monday to recover or whatever.
No.
So this year we're still deciding on dates and things. We're still looking at October or November.
Yeah.
It was first week of October last year. So that's something we've got to decide on. But I suppose the good thing with that is that in theory people should have finished all their summer holidays and so they're going to be able to travel more. Any announcements that we are going to make, we'll just have to put up on the group. Ask everybody to keep their eyes out on that.
Yep.
And we'll let you know as soon as we've finalised a few more details.
So with the last show, you said you had like 200 sort of guests coming through the door. Obviously, it was a ticketed only event. Was there like a vetting process for that, or was it a?
I think we learned an awful lot from the last show. The show was obviously the inaugural show.
Yep.
We did it to the best of our ability, and I think it ran well. But there have certainly been things that we've identified that we can improve on. And I think because of what has happened recently and the problems that other shows have had, I think that we will, without doubt, go through a vetting process. So anybody who wants to go through it, who wants to go to the meeting, will be vetted. That's everybody. Because last time it worked. I mean, there was a family that basically walked in off the street, but were refused entry.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have a ticket, they didn't have proof of ID, so they weren't allowed into the meeting. And we've got a very good friend of mine who will sort security out and make sure that people aren't coming in, just off the street. This is not and never will be a public event. Yeah. It will be for hobbyists, community.
Again,
it's not going to be a public event. Sorry.
One thing we're also going to change. Last year we were very flexible with tickets, and people who couldn't make it were selling their tickets. That will not happen this year. This is, as we've stipulated, a charity event. So if you purchase a ticket and unfortunately you can't make it, you've made your donation towards helping out someone unfortunate. It was a very complicated situation from sorting all of that out, and it took a lot of time to organise, try and keep track of who was coming,
who's got tickets, who's changed, and
it was a bit of a ball ache, to be honest. But that won't happen. So this year, we're going to try and again, as Chris has said, tighten up who's walking through the door and who's not. We're trying to secure an event for our hobby, and we don't want, we're trying not to let someone spoil that.
Yeah. So if someone does buy a ticket and they can't go, and then that ticket becomes available, will that be available for resale through yourselves?
No.
So it would just be a lower number of people?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we have to do it that way. I mean, it might mean that we inevitably allow a certain percentage more on the initial ticket release, if you like.
Yeah.
So that if we can allow for some wastage to come back to our number that we want. But yes, it's not going to be available for resale as such.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate with certain recent events that we're going to have to go to
stricter
that extra-
guidelines. Yeah,
I think it's nice for other people exhibiting to know that everybody attending's been through a sort of vetting process to
Definitely,
know that
yeah.
they've been
Yeah.
checked and they are.
I mean, ultimately, we know a lot of people in the hobby between us, and a large majority of those people that are going to be asking for tickets and things we already know. So the vetting process is going to be very quick for those. What we're talking about is for people that we haven't heard of. Whether we go down the route of if those people can sort of say that they can be sponsored by somebody that we do know,
yep,
then that might be a way through as well.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a grilling or a form to fill in or anything else.
interrogation.
It's not going to be a DBS form, mate. Is it? You know, we're not going to go down to an enhanced
Waterboarding for information.
But prior to getting all the tickets out and stuff like that, we're going to try and secure all the exhibitors first, like we did last year, and then put up an announcement of who's coming as an exhibitor, so that people can see, you know, they might have their favourite breeders that they might want to come and chat to, or whichever, and they can make a decision based on that. Or there's also a video up on the SW group, isn't there, of what the show looked like last year.
Yep.
Which was professionally done by somebody who volunteered his services last year.
That was Rob Cox, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Based down in Western, I think.
And he's West Coast, West Coast Royals, West Coast Reptiles.
So that'll give you a good insight of what went on last year.
Yeah. So in terms of vendors, are you going to be doing that by invite only again?
What did you mean, exhibitors?
Exhibitors, sorry.
I thought you meant that, mate, yeah.
Vendors, yeah.
Yes, it will. And obviously what I'm going to do is I should be contacting exhibitors who very kindly supported us and helped us get the last year's show off to a good start. So all those people that exhibited last year will be invited back, and there'll be a slight change. We're looking at different areas for tables and things like this, and we're looking at potentially a different setup. But all the exhibitors that turned up last year, we will definitely be inviting them back. You know, but like Ryan said earlier, we would like to invite an alternative to ball pythons. I think it would just add to the show.
I think adding the variety would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
Whether it's a percentage of the exhibitors that are invited, make up a percentage of different species or something. But
Definitely.
We should have a few more tables available this year as well, so it's not just the ones who came last year can come. So in case people are listening and thinking that, oh well, I'm not going to be able to come, so I didn't go last year as an exhibitor. We will have a few more than last year, so that number will be increased.
Yeah, last year was definitely a real big learning in many ways. So we've got a much better feel now for, table sizes, how many people we could have, layouts, security, tickets, you name it. It's given us a real good grounding as to where we can make improvements and how we can sort of move forward with future shows.
Even with regards to people attending numbers wise, isn't it? We just
absolutely.
sort of settled on a number and thought, well, we'll see how it goes the first year, and we can judge the second show based on that.
And the ticket sales were really swift when we opened it up.
Yeah.
For people to come to the show.
So guests sold out in a week.
that's pretty quick, yeah.
It's pretty quick.
Considering that's 30 odd exhibitors and 150, 200 guests.
Yes, we had.
And don't forget, of course, we put those. When did we put the tickets out for sale originally?
Oh, really early. It was really early.
Was it June?
Yeah.
May, I think, wasn't it?
Was it May? So like 4 or 5 months before. We were, all the tickets have been allocated, haven't they?
Yeah, within a week.
I think people realised that if they didn't jump on those tickets quick, they were going to be gone.
Have you had any contact from people regarding a new show at all? And it's sort of interest in tickets and exhibiting.
Yeah, quite a few.
I've had a couple of exhibitors recently contact me directly and said, "When's the next show, Chris? When is it?" I've no idea, but I'll get back to you very, very shortly. I think people are quite keen to attend another one, and we're very, very keen to put on another one. So,
What sort of challenges did you find on the day? Being at the first show, what sort of took you by surprise with, maybe how difficult it was or something you didn't expect to come up?
For me, I think the table sizes was one of the things.
We are in a primary school, aren't we?
Yeah, but we had, I guess we had the sort of Doncaster size in our heads as to what
A table would look
someone would be sitting on.
Yeah.
And then
not the size of a lunchbox.
it turned out there was slightly different sizes.
Like coffee tables.
That was definitely
we had to end up giving people more tables than they thought they were getting just to get the simple.
Well, there's plenty of them here, so
There are plenty of them, mate. Yes.
Yeah.
That is a good thing. Yeah.
Perhaps that was one thing we didn't realise, wasn't it? I mean, you guys luckily did that for us on the Friday night.
Yeah.
But shifting 100 odd tables from one end of the school to another was a bit of a.
I'll tell you what, mate. Afterwards, Brian had biceps the size of Bournemouth. After that, he was walking
proper
around.
pumped.
Yeah, carrying his carpet, each arm.
Give you a run for your money.
Yeah.
I believe you stayed behind last time, Tom, didn't you? And give us a hand putting all this.
yeah, there's
It's like a chain going through the school, wasn't it? Passing table.
many hands make light work, wasn't it?
Indeed. Yeah. That was quite a chore. But
That was a good thing though, because everybody was respectful of the place, because it was a brand new building last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we didn't want it wrecked either. And to be fair, absolutely everybody that came treated it with the utmost respect.
And that was one thing that the head teacher said was, I was so pleased when I came in on Monday morning, because it looked like nothing had happened.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the venue is fantastic. It's clean, it's tidy, it's bright. It's not. It doesn't stink like a cow shed, and it's not it's not a cattle market that's been transformed or anything like that.
Yeah.
So.
And you don't need deodorant either.
Yeah.
No, you don't need deodorant, mate.
We had Garrick do us a video for the show
Yeah.
last time. I guess we're going to have to up the stakes this time, boys.
Yeah. So if any,
Get on to Justin.
Yeah, did anyone see that? Because I put it up on the big multimedia screen behind. Garrick DeMeyer, right, folks? Garrick DeMeyer, Royal Constrictor Design, massive breeder in America, did us. That's us for nobodies.
yeah.
He did us a piece saying, "Welcome to the first SWC show." I hope people saw that, because that took a lot of work.
I heard he's exhibiting this time.
He is exhibiting, mate. So he's virtually exhibiting. Yeah,
Someone tried that, didn't they?
He wants 2 of the 4-foot coffee tables.
He wants.
Yeah, he's
I'll tell you
greedy.
what, mate. He's gonna have to bid for them, mate, when they come out for release. Yeah, he wants to
Auction the tables off,
Auction,
highest
yeah.
bidders.
Perhaps we'll have to try and get the big screen going for FaceTime this year or something.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Have a conversation with somebody from overseas.
Can you Instagram live it through
Or
there?
Instagram live it maybe.
Yeah.
You've done a few of that, mate. You have to do that.
Yeah, but it's
With you.
a bit bigger than a phone over there, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but at least you're not on your squeaky chair.
I'll bring that with me.
Oh.
It all adds to the experience.
It's 3 in 1 on it, man. We'll buy a new one.
Sponsorship prices are going up next year.
Oh.
He can't do a live without a glass of whiskey though, can he? Let's be honest.
That is true. Yeah.
Occasionally I do it with red wine. I don't know
Oh
what you're
yes, sorry,
insinuating.
mate. Take it back. I have seen you with red wine on it.
Yeah. And when the weather's nice and warm, I might get the beers out.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy doing those lives. So, in terms of sponsoring the podcast, why did you make that decision?
Because you asked.
I said, give me your money.
It was your puppy dog eyes, Tom.
I think it's very much similar to, what we're trying to do with the show. We want something pretty real, and there aren't many podcasts around, and to get like the real story from a lot of people, everyone's very willing to tell you the good stuff, but sometimes it's very difficult to get the nitty gritty stuff, and I think you need to have a little bit of that, because certainly there are a number of breeders outside of this country as well where, there's kind of the rose tinted glasses put on. It's it's all very good, looking at this stuff, but it takes a lot of time and there's a lot of heartache involved when you don't quite go right. I think that all values of our hobby need to be explored and discussed. And I think that's very different in terms of a podcast to what we've had before. So it's talking to the breeder as a breeder, and even in our own conversations, we might say like, oh yeah, that clash didn't work out, or I had this, or I had that, and that's good to talk about.
The honesty of
Absolutely.
The honesty of the actual situation at hand.
Things
Sometimes
don't always pan out quite as you would like, and you know, when you have these ideas of going, I'll get that male and that female, and I'll breed it to that, and then I'll raise that, and that don't always work out.
No, best laid plans and all that, but
so
this hobby is based entirely on luck as well.
Absolutely, and I think more of that, you know, needs to sort of come out, and it's good to have that conversation.
Plus, at the end of the day, we all know each other, and we want to support you as part of, you know, this is your other contribution to the hobby, so we want to support that as far as we can, as Ryan was saying, so other people can listen to decent podcasts, which there aren't hardly any of in this country.
Yeah, especially in the UK, you hear a lot from American breeders, and there's tons of reptile and royal related podcasts in the US, but very little in terms of what actually continues over here.
Certainly, you know, even myself being in the hobby for quite a while, to listen to something from someone who's had experiences that I've not had, but it's good to know that, understand that, and realise, you know, if that experience come along, you're aware of it, rather than it always being brilliant and you're producing 700 Dream, Batman clown combos or whatever. You know, that's all very nice, but
that's the good thing about
takes
the
an
UK
effort
hobby,
to get
isn't
there.
it? I mean, we know all the other sponsors of your show as well, personally, so you know, it is a close-knit community, isn't it?
Definitely. I tried to, when I first started coming up with the idea of doing it, I tried to keep it to people that I had personally had interactions with, that had sort of supported me in breeding or in other ways, and tried to offer it to them as a viable sort of thing to do initially. And surprisingly, it was quite well received. I didn't expect so many yeses, to be honest. So it was quite good, because stuff isn't cheap. Everything costs, essentially. So
we own that microphone, don't we?
Yeah.
You own the cable that powers the microphone is your section.
We own this boom and that microphone. So that's ours.
Do you know what's mad? Do you know what's mad? That microphone and that boom and that cable were probably more than a donation.
Rubbish.
Really?
Oh, really?
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I think this community though in the UK though is such a small, closely knit thing, as I said, that not just speaking for myself, I'm sure I can speak for all of you here. If there was any problem that anybody had with anything during their season or whatever, any questions or anything like that they wanted, I'm sure that they'd be able to speak to any one of us.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to ignore them on social media.
No.
We're going to answer their questions. We're going to help them out as best we can, which in a bigger state of play like the US, for argument's sake, things are going to get lost, aren't they? People aren't going to be
completely
so forthcoming.
Yeah, no, completely. I think it's especially important for especially the UK side of things it isn't a huge community like people want to make it. It is quite small. It isn't, okay, there might be thousands of people, but realistically, how many of those are active? How many of those actually sort of participate in the events and things?
Exactly. Yeah.
You could probably narrow that down to a couple of hundred at best that you would know are going to be, at every show, or are going to be visible on social media, etc. at any one time. Yeah. So in terms of it actually being a community that, this big, huge thing, it's few and far between that are actually out there all the time.
Definitely.
So as mentioned before, you're all breeders yourselves. Any plans or interesting plans this season, or what's next for you guys, sort of personally on the breeding note?
Shall I start?
Yes, please, Chris.
All right. This is going to be really quick.
Very brief.
Go on, mate. What was the questions again? And I'll ask
Do you like snakes?
Do you own snakes?
Do I own snakes? Yes.
Do you have them?
No. No. So I probably about 6 months ago, and it's nothing to do with anything. It's just my personality. Sometimes I go all in, all or nothing, and I just sort of decided about 6 months ago that I need to. Part of it was I needed to cut down, and I didn't have a massive collection anyway. I mean, it was only it's nothing like some people have got. It's probably only about 25 snakes in the whole scheme of things.
Yeah.
That's from adults down to to juveniles. But I sort of decided that I didn't want to continue going down the pied route, even though I am still Project Pied.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to change my name for ages, but I just haven't got round to it because Max hasn't thought of
a witty name for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you look like a Viking, so it's got to have something to do with that, isn't it?
It must have something to do with it, mate. Yeah. It's simple, but so I just decided for myself that I didn't really see for me the pied gene, and what I had wasn't anything brilliant. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have the genes that people were, they all sing and dance. I just had the sort of the basic stuff, the yellow bellies and the Mojaves and the pinstripe, and and I just thought, actually, I don't think people are massively interested in these anymore. So what am I going to do with my collection? I need to either move them on and get into something else, or spend some money, some decent money, and diversify. And I didn't want to spend any money. Well, I did, but I wanted to buy a bike, a Triumph Speed Triple, rather than snakes.
Is that a midlife crisis thing, or?
Oh, way past midlife crisis. God, midlife crisis happens in your 30s, doesn't it?
You got a low life expectancy.
Oh, wow, yeah, true.
Why an end of life crisis then?
It's probably an end of life crisis. It's a hospice.
You ride that into the care home.
Yeah, care home.
Care home crisis.
Care
That's
home
what
crisis. So it was either to sort of diversify or massively reduce my collection, and I got. I don't know whether other people get this, but sometimes you have ebbs and flows within the hobby, and I was just on a little bit of a downer with it. So I got rid of the vast majority of my collection, and I got some really nice animals from Tony Gator. Myself and Tony came to an arrangement where he took some of mine and I was going to take some of his. I got some absolute stunning, lovely clown male and a couple of het clown females. And my collection at the moment, my whole collection, is a grand total of 7 snakes that don't reside with me anymore and live with my very, very good friend Max from CMC. But we have a.
You're a snake pimp.
I am. I'm pimping my snakes out. But we've
Mm.
talked about joint projects, because joint projects I think are really underrated in this hobby, because there's lots of people with some really good sort of morphs out there, and you're thinking I'd like to make that, but if I put my male to his female, we could make some really
Could make something better potentially,
without either party having to shell out any more money,
and without quarantine issues, because they all live under
one roof. So Max very kindly said, "Oh, bring them up here then, you pain in the ass." And so I did. That's a few months back now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 months ago.
It's the Welsh here now. They all doubled in size.
Mate. They're all
funny accent and
funny. I can't understand any of them now. I don't know what they're saying. But I still breed a few rodents, but that's obviously because my snakes need to feed, and I just give Max all the rodents that I produce, and he does with them what he, of various sizes. You just say, right, I need some of these, I need some of that,
and off it goes.
And we've come to a reciprocal arrangement, which is working well. So, I didn't want to get rid of all my snakes. I didn't want to do that because I thought to myself, if I get rid of them all, I'm going to regret it. Yeah. So I thought I do need to get rid of a few, because for me it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. Yeah. Maybe get into something a little bit different, certainly into the clown project. I have still got a couple of pies. I've got an orange streaming yellow belly, and I actually think those, with with those combos in pied.
It's a staple for pied now, is it? OD yellow
I
belly.
think so.
You've got all the sort of the top combos. They're all
Yeah.
OD yellow belly.
Yeah.
Yeah, something else on top.
So maybe that's a potential pairing that would be next season.
Yeah.
And myself and Max have got a couple of ideas of where the what is he, mate? What is that clown that I got off Tony? He's a pastel leopard
yellow belly clown.
Odin.
I know, sorry, I know OD.
So he's
So pastel OD, YB, leopard, clown.
Yellow belly clown.
Yellow belly clown. You said yellow belly there.
No, OD, YB.
Okay. Anyway, so he's a big powerhouse male, and we've got some plans to put him for his first season next season, haven't we?
Yeah, he's sitting at about 600 grams now, so won't be that far off.
So yeah, far off of getting there at all, is he really?
Yeah. So in terms of this year, we've had a successful breeding season.
Yeah.
I've had half a clutch,
Yay!
again with a joint pairing with Max.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it for me.
Any plans to keep anything back at yours in the future, or is it?
We have kept one back, haven't we? Of that. Or we're going to keep one back from that.
I think Tom's
Are
asking.
you going to keep back at your property?
I'm very sorry. No, because I've got motorbikes to put in my shed, mate. Jesus. I can't fit everything in, can I?
Can't fit that many Triumph Speed triples in, can you?
And he's a seasoned aquascaper as well. Now he's missing that out as well.
Oh, I do like a bit of aquascaping, mate. I'm no good because he's just like
Meat hook hands.
just meat hook hands and dolloping in. But I don't know. The snake room is always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's always going to be available. But that's why, again, like I said, that's why I didn't want to just go, no, I'm out.
Yeah.
I just wanted to keep that interest. And to be honest, it's working out for me because you discuss projects with friends and stuff and you discuss what's going on. I just find it's renewed my enthusiasm for it.
Yeah.
Because I was on a bit of a downer.
Okay.
But not,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Who's next?
I suppose I'll go, shall I?
You go, mate.
Yeah, so
go.
last year me and the family moved and it gave me the opportunity to...
Is that family and I?
Family and I.
Thank you.
Do apologise. We're all about punctuality here. So yeah, it gave me the opportunity to do a garage conversion for a new room, which is coming to its final stages of completion. With that, I've ordered some new racks, which are alloy racks, which I'm really looking forward to getting in. Like Chris, I was quite set on the pie gene, but my attention has been thrown completely away from that now. So I'm looking to, again, get rid of majority of my pied stuff. And I've become quite fixated on the Trojan gene.
Yeah.
So I've got a pair of those. I've got a male pastel Trojan and a female pastel Trojan IX fusion. And I've just been basically trading out a lot of my last year's hatchlings and so forth for a lot of clown stuff.
Okay.
So I've done some good trades with a lot of well-known individuals. Got a couple of nice visual males, got some really nice females, and just looking to spread the Trojan round. If you're not familiar with Trojan, I suggest you look it up because it's pretty awesome.
I know Justin released a Trojan trick, Hypo DG thing, didn't he? I think it sent the Trojan through the roof.
Yeah, the super is even better. It's awesome and it's pretty untapped. There's not many in this country that have it. There's been some. Max has been updating me with one of the only other people I know that's got it in this country, and he's had some fortune. But I think it's going to be once we start seeing some combos. It's as Justin said, it's a gene that, to be quite honest, as a hatchling, is a bit of an ugly duckling.
Okay.
It doesn't look that great. You can tell it's different. There's a lot of rusty browns and golds and stuff in it, so you can definitely identify it as its gene. But it's when it starts to shed and get older, they just become insane colours, rusty reds, rusty browns, golds. They look awesome.
I'm guessing that's why it works so well with the DG then.
Oh man, they're insane. There's a few genes that work really well with it. So looking to basically experiment with that, and also the IAX gene, which again another one's very unknown. It's a gene which highlights orange pigmentation, and hopefully this year the super will be proved out.
Okay.
So very interested to see where it all goes. So that's where my attention's sort of going, and I'll be quite specific in sort of trying to play about with those genes. It's just, like I say, it's pretty untapped. So there's a lot of stuff that can be worked with it.
Darren, what about you?
Yeah, well, this year I suppose I'm mid converting the garage over to become the new reptile room, because when it all started, I suppose like everybody else, it started off with the one snake with never a view to a second snake entering the house, and from there it just grew to number 2, 4, and so on, and I think we're at about 60 animals, I think roughly as we speak. So yeah, it'd be nice to have them all in one dedicated room.
Yeah.
And not taking over the whole house, which I'm just lucky that the wife puts up with. Yeah, she wasn't so impressed when the double drinks fridge for the incubator come into the house. that was probably pushing it a little bit too far.
Especially when you took her wine out of it as well.
Absolutely. But no, I suppose one of the main things for this season probably the Desert Ghost stuff and the Monarch stuff for this season. Making a lot of double het stuff hopefully this season as well as the visual stuff. So yeah, I think long term, I think those would be the main two that I'm concentrating. Doing a lot with Clown as well, but I think Desert Ghost and Monarch will be the main two that I'll probably be focusing on. So, yeah.
When are you looking at getting the reptile room completed?
No real set date, but I would like it all totally done by the end of this year if I can. So, luckily having a father-in-law who's really handy at block work, rendering and everything else, so it's just really buying the materials and getting him to do the work. Yeah, luckily I haven't got to pay him late labour, just a couple of pints in between. So
perfect.
Yeah, great, it's all done now. Absolutely.
So I guess you're overrun then, Max, after taking on Chris's huge collection of 7 animals.
Well, my collection's not huge either. I think we got about 40 odd snakes at the moment. But yeah, it's manageable. I mean, I'm. It sounds like a bit of a broken record now, but I'm sort of going to be changing what I'm doing at the end of the season as well, and a lot of my pied stuff's going.
Okay.
What is it with pieds? What is it with pied stuff that's going?
It made me laugh because obviously when we obviously started off our group, I was the only one that never done pied, right?
Yeah, you got some ribbon for that.
Yeah. And now it's all suddenly swung round.
And then everybody's, what is it with? Like everybody's getting.
I think pied has suffered with the emergence of Desert Ghost.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think people have probably put their eggs into different baskets, and I think Clown and DG are probably the ones that are.
I think the market's just
controlling
very,
the market
very saturated on the pied front at the minute as well. And you've only got to look on Morph Market.
I'm just being a bit more selective with mine.
Yeah.
I mean, doing a joint pairing at the moment with Sean, trying to make ultra pieds.
Yep.
I think that side of it really interests me. And then maybe working other things into that eventually in the future. But your bog standard pied stuff. I mean, years ago when my son and I, Charlie, started out, his first snake was an albino.
Yeah.
And second one was a pied het albino. So you can see where we were going with that. So hence why my logo looks like an albino and a pied. And I still haven't made one.
How many years of trying?
The last 3 years I've put pairings together and just haven't hit the double visual. So we've got 2 pairings this year which should hit the double visual hopefully, and then I can tick that one off the box.
Get a new logo and get something else.
But it's one of those things, isn't it? You strive for something and you won't quit until you get rid of it. So I know a lot of people prefer dreamsicles and things like that to albino pipe, but it's still something I want to produce. So we've got quite a few animals in that collection, in that project. But I think once I do, because I've got a male, once I do hit a female, I think I'm going to release a few pieds out from that one.
Which way do you want to focus? What are you going to try and put more concentration on?
Most of my collection is Ultramel.
Okay.
We did hit. We had a female who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But before she did, she gave me a nice clutch of hets.
Yeah.
So we held back the whole lot, and then since then I've been buying some other animals. So I've got things like Sugar, Ultramal, Spot Nose Sugar, Het Ultramals, that sort of
Nice.
thing. And of course, I mean, in the incubator at the moment, I've got Cinnamon Het Ultramal times Ultramal.
Okay.
So just want to see what a nice orange Ultramal
Yeah.
would look like. And just building the base then, so I can then put that into projects in the future. So hence with the Ultrapide, if I've got some nice Ultramals already in the mix and I can use those.
Yeah.
Similarly, I want to put the Spot Nose Ultramal girl to my Pastel Leopard Blade Clown.
Nice.
Or I might put it to Chris's ODYB Pastel Leopard Clown.
Well done.
So,
what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So you never know. A nice couple of dominant genes in there with the so-called Ultramel Batman mix.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm heading really. I've got quite a few clown bits and bobs as well. So yeah, clown and Ultrapide are the main things, and the Ultramel stuff, and then mixing it all together basically. I'd love to get DG in there. But I haven't produced anything that Darren wants to swap with me yet. So once I do, I might go down that route.
You never release any of that DG stuff.
No.
mate.
Very little.
Of course, DG a couple of years ago was cheap as chips, wasn't it? And
God.
now it's ridiculous.
I just love it when I open up my rack and see all these lovely DGs.
Yeah. But I've just had another clutch as well. We're put Super Special to a Pastel Leopard Blade Clown. I think Special in Clown is something good.
Yeah.
So, you know, especially seeing, I hate to mention that everybody else does, but Justin's produced some amazing Special Clowns.
Yeah, I mean, he's the front runner, isn't he?
Yes.
We're light years away from catching him.
Yeah. So make some nice hats for those as well. But yeah, I want to get my collection down to around about 20 adults, and then try and keep it at that.
Yeah.
I think. And then just sort of keep replacing with better versions of them, rather than having holdbacks and having 80 odd adults in your racks. That's not for me, I'm afraid. You know, I work full time and breed rodents like the rest of us do.
That's what Charlie's for, sure.
Yeah, well, it would have been, but he's a teenager now, so he tends to not have so much interest. But yeah, just getting down to a manageable number. I don't want to be.
Yeah, somewhere where it's comfortable and it's not a chore for you.
I'm still a hobbyist. I'm still breeding to try and breed what I want to breed.
Yeah.
For what I want to, you know, what I think looks nice and what will work and look nice. Then I'm still aiming for it, rather than just producing so I can. Like a lot of people in this country, just producing to sell.
Yeah.
I'm not really into it for that. But producing better than I have.
That's the main thing, isn't it? Progression.
Yeah.
As long as you continue progressing, if it costs you money to do it, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because everything costs these days.
Yeah.
You know, whether you wanted to go and play Sunday league football, it still costs you. You know,
Yeah.
football boots, fees, things like that.
Yeah.
Everything costs, right?
I
Might
think
not
about
cost
that.
like Snakes does, but
Yeah. I think I'm at that point now where I've bought what I want to buy for now, and I'm finally getting to the stage where all the ones that I produced in the past are finally getting to the size where they're going to start producing.
reaping the rewards a little
Or
bit more.
start reaping.
Yeah.
Exactly. Rather than last few years just been building it. Now I should be making some nice stuff.
So as a collective, when can we expect an announcement on the next show? When is there going to be a definitive answer?
I think the coming weeks, isn't it, really? I think
It will be, yeah, probably before the end of next month. We'll have something out there. We had a meeting this morning because even though we were an hour apart, we all work different jobs and hours, and it's difficult getting together. So it's just thrashing out some final bits and bobs, and then we'll put something out on the group first. We've got ideas down the route with possible websites and things, but again, that'll be notified in due course.
So where is the best place for people to find the information as to what's going on? Obviously, you mentioned the Facebook group. Is that the primary source of...
It will be. So it's SW Constrictors. We didn't have ourselves down as SWC Constrictors last year.
Well,
We realised there was too many C's.
Constrictors.
There's too many C's, so it is Southwest Constrictors on Facebook. Failing that, any of us personally on our own social media, we're all on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to plug your Instagram handles now?
yeah, might as well. So mine's really easy. CMT Royals on Instagram or Facebook. I'm trying to stay away from using my personal Facebook for snakes.
Yeah, I do.
Just contact me on Instagram is the main one I use now. So CMT Royals on Instagram.
Mine's on Facebook, it's Chris Pide, and on Instagram is Project Pide.
Yeah, so for me, both Facebook and Insta, it's Wyball Reptiles.
For myself on Facebook and Instagram, it's DJ Constrictors on both.
So there you go. That was the Southwest Constrictors and their breeder pages. Anything else to say before we wrap it up?
Thanks for
Do you want to talk about your Triumph Speed Triple anymore? Or?
Well, Max did say, I bet you can't get it in. But I did.
I meant talking about the bike, Chris.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, I didn't get that in then, did I?
No, not really.
No.
Just hope that people sort of support us. We're trying to do something to help move the hobby in a positive direction.
Yeah.
We're trying to do what we can to stop, those that are trying to spoil it for us, spoil it.
Yeah,
Like I say, we're doing this for charity, we're doing this for a social, and
For the betterment of the hobby.
absolutely, and
Just a nice fun show.
Come
From
down.
the breeders for the breeders, isn't
have
it?
a
Really?
chat.
It's,
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it.
From us, Tom, thanks very much for your own time for coming down.
No problem at all.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me, and
Yeah.
thank you for sponsoring the podcast and putting the money up.
Do we have to do it next year?
Yeah.
Yeah, better get a show then this year.
Ticket prices have just gone up.
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
they, now?
Ticket prices are 50 quid each. Yeah.
You get half a table for that.
Yeah, you get half the lunchbox. Thanks for coming down, mate. I know
No
it's
problem
been
at all.
I know it's been a long track, but
No, it's
appreciate it, buddy.
been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. And that was the guys from the Southwest Constrictors group there. So if you do want any updates, go and follow the page on Facebook. It is the SWC group or the SW Constrictors group, I believe. I will try and post a link for it somewhere below. But yeah, I mean, if you've been to the shows before, it was great fun. It was a really nice social event, a lot smaller, a lot less sort of hustle and bustle than the Doncaster shows that you're used to. Just a real friendly atmosphere, a real social atmosphere. And the bonus for me was it was on a Saturday. So I didn't have to worry about going to work the next day after driving back. It was quite relaxed, quite chilled, and a really, really good weekend. So keep an eye out for future dates. I will say that there is going to be an announcement pretty soon in terms of show dates. So keep your eyes peeled. It will probably be within the next few days of this podcast going out. So if you do fancy an alternative show to the IHS shows that you're used to, then this is a really, really, really good alternative and run by some really nice guys as well. All of those guys are really genuine, nice guys. So as I say, great show, great weekend, and hopefully we'll see you all at the next one. Other than that, nothing too much to say. There is still room on the EU and US shipments that I'm organising with Scott Wilkinson. So if you are looking at bringing anything over from Europe or the States, drop me a message at Wolfie Royals and I will get back to you with prices and sort of details on how it works. And yeah, other than that, we will see you next month. Peace.